I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Raven H. Price, author of Wisdom Song. Raven, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right, question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
To get creative, take your time, and get that book into some kind of computer, and then go about doing your edits and adjustments after you get it down.
That's great advice. Just get to it.
If you take the time to make sure everything's grammatically correct and everything, you just waste so much energy worrying over nothing. When your creative juices are flowing, you need to go with it and get it down.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because that's one of the things, just get your information out there and clean it up later. That's great advice.
Right.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, it's trying to do it self-publishing way. I had trouble formatting my book correctly to get it in the format that the KDP and CreateSpace is the two that I use, that they wanted those books in. It took me a while to learn the method that they wanted and the style that they needed. But once I got that down, the rest of my books were a piece of cake. I didn't have any issues once I learned how to do that.
And have you formatted all of your books yourself?
Yes, sir. I had to figure out how to do that all myself.
Well, congratulations on that. I've written 13 myself, and I have not formatted one of those things. I just outsourced that because I try to do it myself, and you're right. There's so many different things that you can mess up, where I was just like, okay, forget it. I am outsourcing this out of here.
Well, I was published at first, and then I didn't lose contract with them. They went out of business, and then I had to take my books back and redo them myself, and that's when I found out I didn't know a thing about formatting, and had to learn from the ground up how to do it.
You did it, and I have great respect for you for doing that, because I know it's definitely not easy.
Yes, sir. It was a challenge, but it was very well worth it and rewarding in the end.
Well, and let's talk about the other fun part about publishing, and that is marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
I use Google AdWords, and I use the KDP specials in their word campaigns. And I've joined a whole bunch of the Facebook author clubs and book clubs and reader clubs, and I'll post ads in them and advertise my books. And then I use the Twitter too. I tweet a lot about my books.
Excellent.
And basically that gets me out there. It's created a lot of author friendships throughout the United States, and we help each other out, and we promote each other's work, and it's a lot of word of mouth that does a lot for authors these days.
Well, and you mentioned a tactic that we haven't heard on the show yet, and you're talking about Google AdWords. Can you tell me a little bit about how that works?
Well, you go in and you set up a campaign to run continuously or for a certain amount of time, and they want you to use certain keywords that they, if somebody goes in and wants a certain genre like romance or fantasy, and they go in and they do like a Google search for that, your book will come up because you used that keyword. And then they have a chance to click on for interest, and you pay by the click. So it's up to you how much you want to spend on an ad. And you can spend a lot of money, or you can spend up to a quarter or a click. It just depends on your budget. But I found that you get a lot of exposure that way, because everybody uses Google. Google this, you Google that. And readers out there are always looking for new authors, because if they find one, they don't write but a book a year, they have a long wait unless they find somebody else that writes the same kind of things they do. So, Google is a wonderful method. And also the KDP word ads is basically the same thing. They add on for the electronic books, or the ebooks is what they call. So they advertise with that the same way.
Now, is that the one? Is that the one on Amazon? You're talking about like the Amazon Marketing Services campaigns?
No, it goes strictly from Kindle, the Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Publishing, and of course, Amazon is connected with them, but you go straight to your Kindle KDP, your Kindle Publishing, and then they have like a special where you can mark down your books to like 99 cents for a certain period of time, or you can offer them free for a period of time, but you can't do it continuously because they don't make any money. It's just a prompt to get your word out there and get people to download them, and then, like I said, the word of mouth then happens, and you get that snowball rolling. And it's effective if you use it correctly. It's effective.
No, I agree, and then I misunderstood a little bit about that until you explained that out. So basically, it's the ones where you reduce your price to 99 cents for the Kindle Countdown deal, and that one's typically
Right.
your book has to be in there for 30 days, or the other option is to have your book available for free up to 5 days, because that's actually part of the launch sequence that we
Yeah.
use with my company and everything. So you bring up some great points with that, because the
Right.
funny thing is, not everyone actually takes advantage of that. And if your book's going to be in KDP, I mean, you definitely have to take advantage of those. So you definitely have some great strategies there.
Well, some of the largest sell people in the world do these sales occasionally, just so people will buy the product, so that people will see how they like it, and it gets the ball rolling. It does, and especially if you're a new author and somebody sees a book for sale, they're more apt to buy it than a book that costs $20 or $30. So it's very beneficial.
And let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Okay, well, I'm a romance nut, and I got to reading the Stephanie Meyer's Twilight series, and that is what prompted me to write my first book, The Plan. I enjoyed reading how she used a fantasy story about werewolves and vampires and bad guys to create a story about good morals and diversities and acceptance of people. It just had a good underlying moral tone to it, and I used that to create kind of my own stories like that. And I believe in spreading the good news any way you can, and if people like those kind of entertaining books, the fantasy, the supernatural, mixed in with a romantic theme, go for it, and that's what I did.
Excellent. And let's
So,
talk about your favorite quote. So what is your favorite quote, and why is it your favorite quote?
Well, like I said, if you go on any of my web pages, you're going to see that I'm all about loving and loving your neighbor. And so my favorite quote is, the more you're motivated by love, the more freedom and fear your actions will be. And it was by Dalai Lama. So I try to stay motivated by a love walk, and caring for people and trying to love each other is the way I want to be loved. So that's basically where I come from with that.
That is an excellent philosophy. I have the same views myself. I'm a big believer in karma. What goes around comes around. You do good, it comes back on you. And if you do bad, it's going to come back on you 100-fold.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So, Raven, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Okay, Facebook and Twitter, you can find me by the handle Roaring Purr. It's ROARINGPURR. Or if you go on Amazon to look at my books, you have to call out the whole name, Raven H. Price, and all of my selections will come up.
Excellent. Well, Raven, thank you again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
I appreciate you asking me to be on the show, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.